Show me the money. That's right. Today on Movies Are Life, we're going behind the scenes of the sports agent world to talk about the number 5 film on the 50 best rom-coms list and one of my personal favorite movies, Jerry Maguire. I'm super excited to welcome in first-time guest and the ambassador of Quan, Nicki Wilson, who I probably haven't talked to in person since, is it fair to say college?
Yeah, in person. Yeah.
How are you doing?
I mean, the same old, same as college, Nathan. Same as college.
Great. Yeah, well, I mean, we both look the same too.
We look the exact same.
Same energy, all that good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was in a social service fraternity at Baylor University, Kappa Omega Tau, and Nicki was the fraternity sweetheart when I went through pledgeship as a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And so it's funny to think back at that time, and it's probably fair to say that you saw me at some of my lowest points and highest points as a sophomore in college, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that was my job. I don't know, for your listeners, it was kind of like I was the mom or older sister, probably was a better. Better way to say. For me, for some girls, I think they were the mom. I was like the fun older sister. And it was like my job to take care of them, make sure they were eating, sleeping, some emotionally healthy. It was so fun though. But like Nathan and I hit it off because we both liked music and movies.
Yeah, like exactly.
A lot, like in a weird way, not in a normal, like, oh, we're watching, like, I don't know, even like big blockbusters that were out then in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it was like, no, we were watching the weird, obscure stuff back then.
Yeah, exactly. So before we jump into our discussion about this movie, I just wanted to give you a chance to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your business and what you do.
Yeah. So in career-wise, I used to be a social worker, hated that. And so when I started having kids, I decided to like capitalize on my love for fitness and health. And it's been like a long journey. It's a long story, but I'm now doing like online membership. Awesome. Where it's like fitness and fat loss and just, getting healthy around your body, having good body confidence and confidence around food. And so I do that, and it's really a joy. It's really fun. It's been like a wild journey, but I love that. I love it. I'm very comfortable in that, but yeah, that's what I do.
We'll put it in the show notes and also our website, so you can easily link to all of Nicki's great stuff. So you inspire me to be at least, okay, I haven't worked out today, I need to go work out today.
So, like my motto is like, something is something. Like,
right.
Be sustainable. Don't be weird. Don't have like an unhealthy relationship with like food and exercise. Just like get yourself right, but don't be obsessive about it. So
right, exactly.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, let's grab our goldfish and our memo. Mission statement, and discuss the 1995 hit Jerry Maguire.
I want everybody to see you for what you are. The best kept secret in the NFL. You are the man. You ready? Yep. Let's go. Let's walk. My name is Jerry Maguire. I'm a sports agent. You could say I'm at the top of my game, but something just isn't right.
Jerry Maguire!
What can I do for you, Rod?
Show me the money.
You know what I'm saying, Jerry? Show me the money! Money!
Jerry Maguire is a 1996 American romantic sports comedy drama film directed, written, and co-produced by Cameron Crowe and starring Tom Cruise in the title role with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Renee Zellweger. The film also stars Kelly Preston, Jerry O'Connell, Jay Moore, Bonnie Hunt, and Regina King. Co-produced by J. Mel Brooks, it was released in theaters on December 13th, 1996, and received positive reviews from critics who praised its performances and screenplay. It was also a financial success, grossing more than $273 million worldwide against its $50 million budget. It was the 9th highest grossing film of 1996 and was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor for Tom Cruise, with Cuba Gooding Jr. winning Best Supporting Actor. It also received nominations for 3 Golden Globes, with Cruise winning for Best Actor, and 3 Screen Actor Guild Awards, with Gooding winning Best Supporting Actor. Okay, so Nicki, when I reached out to you about this list, why did you choose Jerry Maguire?
Oh, I mean, Jerry Maguire is like defines the latter part of my high school life. And I don't know why, because it's so funny. And I guess we'll probably get into this, but like rewatching it, I'm like, how does this even resonate with a high school girl? You know what I mean? I'm like, when I rewatch it, it hits so different as an adult. But just something about the energy of this movie and like, I just, the storytelling of it and like the storylines and how they intertwine, it's just one of the most, like, I can't not watch Jerry Maguire. When it's on, whatever comes on TNT or whatever, like I don't even flip through channels anymore. But like if it's on, I'm watching Jerry Maguire. Like at any point, I'm in. Just a magical movie. Like every scene is just a banger to me. Like I'm sure we'll talk about like favorite scenes. I'm very stressed out about it because it is just such a well-written screenplay.
Yeah, it is. And
it's crazy to me though, that in high school, I was like, this is it. This is like the ultimate movie for me.
Well, part of that, before I go back to that, like how long do you think it's been since you've seen it last?
I've watched Jerry Maguire. I rewatched it probably a couple of months ago.
Oh, okay.
It's one that we put on. Like we put on if we're like Brent, my husband and I are very into movies and TV, and like, you know, you can get a little overwhelmed these days with just like so many options. So it's a lot of times are just like, we need to numb out to something and we put on Jerry Maguire, like legit put it on. That is what we do.
Well, you're also, it's fair to say, a sports family. And that had to be kind of the appeal to this. And I was thinking back, you know, to me, this was, I'm sure there's some things that existed. I mean, there were, of course, always sports movies like Bull Durham and that stuff, but this like behind the scenes look of the sports industry. I mean, I feel like it's one of the first to do that because now, you know, there's podcast. I mean, you could, you know, even with social media, I mean, we probably get way too much behind the scenes look. And I think that was part of the appeal. I mean, obviously the things with the screenplay, the story and that sort of thing. But I think as a teenager, you know, watching this movie, that's what appealed to me. For sure.
Yeah. And that's what I'm like, and I can see like the appeal when I look at like boys, like high school boys. It's like, you know, NFL. All like meeting up of all the athletes at the, you know, conventions and like all that, those scenes. Like, I don't understand still though why it was like so exciting to me. I love sports, but just something about it, I don't know. But yeah, like the sports aspect of it is like pretty fascinating.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and I was saying we we watched this. Let Hallie watch this with us, and I was kind of leaning over, going, Drew Bledsoe, okay, he was blah blah blah. Or I was telling her like, no, a lot of these these athletes were like actual real people. So the story for this movie was reportedly based on a real life Orange County agent, Lee Steinberg, who is actually a cameo in the movie. At the end, he was actually Troy Aikman's agent there at the end and stuff like that. And so I think this movie is interesting because this is kind of a question for you, but watching it maybe through adult eyes this time, I was like, do I really feel sorry for Jerry Maguire? Do you ever struggle with that at all?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, totally. I'm like looking at it through an adult. I'm like, Jerry was a little, I don't know. Like,
douchey.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he definitely, this character, even though it's hard to say, like I know someone who looks exactly like Tom Cruise, but I think we all know somebody kind of like this, like just uber charismatic, can light up a room, but then when it comes to the real life issues, struggles with such things.
Yes. It's like, yeah. What do they say in his bachelor party? He can't be.
Yeah, he's. I don't know if they exactly say it, but he's great at friendship, bad with intimacy.
Yes. And so I don't think I like understood the full element of that piece of it until watching it like as an adult several times. You know, just like, oh yeah, we know people like that who are like incapable of like vulnerability and intimacy.
Right.
As an adult male. You know what I mean? Like, so it is interesting watching it from that perspective.
Yeah.
He's
And
always on. He's always on. He's always performing, you know?
right. Yes. And I think what Cameron Crowe, the director and writer of this movie, and we just recently talked about his movie Say Anything that was on this list. And although these two films are very different, I think what he is amazing at is making people human. And I know that seems kind of like, well, yeah, of course. But I think that's sometimes what divides a great movie and a good movie is like when you see it and you can actually, even though, I mean, Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise, like, you know, even up to this day, like all the Mission Impossible movies, you know, this person is not like a real life person. But in this movie I'm watching and I feel like I know this person and that this person would actually exist. And not just with his character, but all the people involved in this. He writes characters in such a human level that we just, it's so easy to connect, not just with the main characters, but everybody else that's around them. Yeah.
And he does do a good job of that. And maybe that's like why the movie is so appealing and like it felt very ahead of its time a little bit. Like there weren't a lot of movies that came out in the 90s where it wasn't like the action star. I mean, that's typical Tom Cruise, you know, but it was like, it painted a picture of like more layers to people than just like being beautiful and being a sport, like wacky sports agent, like hyperactive guy. And, you know, like he does write characters on many levels. And you see that in a lot of his movies, but, maybe that was just like one of the first experiences I had with like the main characters in film. And that's why it was like so drawing. It's such a drawing movie in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is probably, I mean, I think Tom Cruise is a really, really good actor, but this goes beyond the Top Gun type of character, you know, like I really think he does a good job, especially after him and Dorothy get together and you see him shutting off. And I actually think that has to be a hard thing to do as an actor. You can see the distance between them. And I think he does a really good job at that. So, but I don't know I know people always say that, but like, especially in our teen, you know, isn't it like the real trouble guy? That's what people are drawn to. So maybe that's why it's like, oh, he's such a nice guy, but I know something's in there. If only I can unlock what's going on.
Well, that's Dorothy's like toxic trait, right?
Right.
And her sister knew it. Like she's like, ooh, like, nope, don't do it. And she just couldn't help herself.
Yeah.
It's like the wounded man who doesn't know he's wounded, but I do, and I'm going to help him, but he resists the help, you know? So it's just like classic, like, don't do it. Don't go to that guy. It's like a hot plate.
Yeah.
But she couldn't help herself. So it's like Dorothy's toxic trait is.
Yeah. So do you think the jump, I have to ask you from Dorothy's perspective, her jump to I'm in love with this man, did you kind of almost like, wow, that was quick? Or do you think that it was a fair feeling for Dorothy to have so quick?
I mean, I think watching it now, it's like Dorothy was lonely.
Yeah.
There's like, she's young too. That's what kills me about these movies. I'm like, those people were young and they look pretty old. Like probably when I was watching it in high school, I thought they were like in their 40s, but like she was young and a single mom at like, and the charisma it's kind of like The Bachelor.
Yeah.
I'm in love with you. Like you're the only thing right in front of me, and you're really good looking, and you're super charismatic. I'm in love with you. Like, yes, I'll marry you.
Right,
so
right.
It's far-fetched for sure.
Yeah.
But like I do get it for her, like her, situation in life. I think it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
It's really happening right now. And I'm with him all the time. We're working together now. Like,
yeah. Well, I was starting to think about this concept, a little bit more. And I really like the aspect of the mission statement that he writes in the beginning of this movie. I mean, it starts off, and I was doing some research, and it didn't surprise me that Cameron Crowe apparently wrote out this whole 27-page mission statement. I think that would be super interesting to actually read to see what it says in there. But I really like it because are you familiar with the term MacGuffin when it comes to movies?
No.
Okay, so basically, if something's referred to a MacGuffin, it's an object or device in a movie or book that serves merely as a trigger for the plot.
Okay.
And so anyway, I think this perfectly stands in this place because we never get the full statement, but it launches all this stuff. And I do think that she, everybody talks about how great it is, but she sees something in this mission statement, and especially connecting to Jerry Maguire as the person that other people aren't able to see.
Yep.
And so I kind of, when I was analyzing this, I'm like, man, love, I think she feels the passion behind the words and always has. And that's why he also connects to her, because she sees this in him. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like at the end of the scene, when he comes in and he's declaring his love for her or whatever, I think even at one point, as part of, before she cuts him off and says the famous line, you had me at hello. He seems to start quoting, I think, what was in the memo.
Yeah.
He says, "We live in a cynical world," and he goes into that, and she cuts him off. I think almost in a sense like, no, I know, like, you don't have to sell me anymore, just like how he was constantly trying to sell himself.
Yeah.
And so I like that. I might be reading too much into it, but
no, I think you're exactly right. And it's kind of like one of those things, like, because Jerry's so resistant to vulnerability and like intimacy, but like he had that one vulnerable moment in the beginning of the movie writing the mission statement, right? Like it was like, even immediately after it was over, he was like regretful of like, putting the thing in the boxes. You know what I mean? So you could see that as like tender to him, and then he immediately regrets it. But I think you're right. Like Dorothy like saw that in him and like held on to that the whole time. Like the bad boy, you're like, but I know the good is in there. Right. I know it's in there. And then, at the end comes full circle. I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Well, just let's talk a little bit about some of the performances here. We've kind of hit on Tom Cruise a little bit, but I mean, I listed earlier the amount of actors that are in this movie, but what other performances stand out to you?
I mean, Cuba Gooding, like, for me, and we'll talk about this later because I know it's a rom-com, but for me, the chemistry lies with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like, to me, they are it's not the love story, I know that, but like that is the glue that holds this movie together. Yeah. I would argue, like, I don't know, Renee Zellweger could be replaced by, she's not like that. She doesn't really do it that much for me. Like, I think she's adorable. She's precious. Great. But I think you could replace her with any actress. I mean, don't hate me for that, for the Renee Zellweger fans out there. But like, to me, the glue is really Cuba and Tom.
Well, yeah. And we were talking about vulnerability. And I think, that's what Jerry Maguire is learning about that, not just in this relationship with Dorothy, but just with other people, with his clients and stuff like that. And how, vulnerability is something, and trust, takes time. And, that's why he learns magnificently between these two characters.
I love every scene that they're in together. Like, every scene. Yeah.
And it's really funny how, once again, we're in the sports. I'm a big sports fan, but especially with college athletics and the NIL, but then just in general, player empowerment. And I feel like people have, and I think rightfully so, have spoken up more for the athlete, and that, the athlete getting what they deserve and that type of thing. And this was kind of the first time, I think, almost in a way, making these athletes, Rod Tidwell, people themselves. We see him with his family, we see, even though he's making a lot of money, they very much set up of like, how many people he has to take care of through this job, and how much is on the line if he gets injured.
And just like how much sports players, college, NFL, NBA, like, you're such a commodity. And like that can go away at any
Yes.
moment, you know?
Yeah.
And so like I always like watching it now, like you're like, wow, like that's real stuff. And you really feel for Rod Tidwell because you're like, man, like
Yeah.
you're just a commodity to anybody else. You're nothing else but that. You're a paycheck to somebody else too. And so I just love that pairing of Jerry's life depends on it, but like Rod's life depends on Jerry.
Yeah.
And like neither one are really sinking.
Right.
So that's a really beautiful part of the sports part of the story too.
Yeah.
You know, is like the symbiotic relationship they have to have, but they're neither one really like one's not thriving professionally or personally, and the other is like has this great life, but professionally it's kind of tanking.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah, we hit it on a little bit, just like how great the characters are here. And I think Regina King, she's like recently has gotten a lot, I feel like the recognition she's always should have received as a great actress, even though she's not in this movie a whole lot. Her as Rod's wife, Marcy, I think she's amazing in this movie as well. Oh,
Me too.
I mean, she adds so much to it. And kind of going back, we were talking about the sports aspect, jumping to the end where he's getting hit and we don't know how well he is. I credit this movie to, like, I probably always had this thought as far as like injuries go and when you're watching it on TV, but like when he gets injured and they show, Marcy with all her family in the living room and the TV cuts to commercial and the angst that they feel in that moment. Like to this day, if I'm watching a sporting event and somebody gets hurt, that's all I can think about all the families like, oh my gosh. So I don't know.
TP's popping off and Marcy's like swinging at him. Like, it's just like, yes, you're like that's real. It feels so real. I'm right there with you. Yes. Like that. I think about Jerry Maguire too, when they cut to things on the field.
Now, this is already kind of a longer film, I would say, certainly for the rom-com genre. But I did kind of almost feel like, if I could be a little nitpicky, that especially Dorothy and Jerry's relationship early on, I think I felt like there were some gaps that we didn't necessarily see. Do you feel that at all?
Yeah, I do. It's interesting. Like I said, the Dorothy, Tom, or Renee Zellweger, Tom chemistry, I could have used a few less scenes even. I don't know. Like, it's not the integral part of the film to me, which is just interesting as a rom-com. What do you think? Like, would you cut scenes? Or
actually, this is one and Whitney always gives me a hard time because I'm always like, how long is this movie? Or how, this is actually a movie I kind of wish we could spend more time with. I was more so kind of almost wanting more. I felt like it needed like one good montage to maybe kind of see how this relationship was growing, not just between him and Dorothy, but also Ray and the family. And so anyway, there's just some kind of time jumps where it's like, oh, okay, we're here now.
Yeah.
And I would actually honestly say that someone who is not a big sports person, like they may not know the timeline of what an off season is to when the actual season is. So like when he's early on in Arizona, that could be, June or July, like watching them practice and stuff. And then jumping to that Monday night football game, it's probably not even probably like mid to late December or something like that. So even though they don't really show lots of Christmas decorations and that sort of thing. So anyway, so I just felt like maybe a little bit more guidance is just kind of like, oh my God, especially the wedding and everything, the proposal. It's kind of, as an audience, you're kind of like, oh, we're at this point.
They're getting married. Yeah, it's like, okay, you're not moving. You're married now.
Yeah.
You're gone all the time.
Probably one of the rare rom-coms that there actually is like a wedding, like early on in the process. And I mean, that's actually kind of what I like about this movie. It seems to be almost like a more realistic take on, what a relationship, would be, especially as I can't remember. Does she say that Ray's father, he just died?
He died. Yeah.
He died. But, but she's been through a marriage before, or I don't know if they've said marriage, but anyway, just the fact that the ceremony is like smaller in scope. You know,
It's a
kind
marriage of convenience too, which is just like, and they say that later. She's like, you know, it's basically like this was convenient for both of us. So I guess, I mean, it was a pretty good job of accomplishing that. Just like, well, I don't want you to move. Okay. Well, I guess we'll get married then. Like, okay.
yeah. I would have to say probably already this movie has to be one of the most quotable movies on the list. I had the fail attempt at the beginning of this thing of shouting out, "Show me the money!" But I mean, you complete me.
Yes.
Help me.
Hello. Help me help you.
Yeah. You know, I jokingly, I wasn't even trying to I wasn't even trying to be funny with Hallie the other day, but like Hallie, sometimes she's 12, but not in a bad way, but sometimes like she just shuts off and you can tell she's just not saying what she needs to say. And I actually found myself saying, "Help me help you."
Yes.
And I was just, mentally I was like, are you seriously like quoting a movie through your like parental?
Great line.
Yeah.
That's Cameron Crowe though. Like all, you know, it's just like, yes, that is a banger line. Like you can use that in everyday life. Help me help you.
Help me, Rod. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you. Help me. Help you. Sorry. You are hanging on by a very thin thread. And I dig that about you.
I read, and this makes sense. He was actually kind of hoping that the Quan would become a more popular catchphrase than some of the other things. And I kind of laughed because I was like, often a lot of the things that catch on are not the things that you would expect. But that made me laugh because I was like, yeah, they really do shove this Quan thing like down our throats.
They kind of do. You're right. And we're like, no, we're not accepting. We're not accepting in that. No.
Yeah. Were there any other quotes that
I mean, the whole movie is like so quotable.
Yeah.
Like I climbed the top of El Capitan in however many hours. I can make this work. Like this is hilarious. Oh, even like that whole love scene. She's just like torn Levi's for me. You know, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is just the whole movie is just laced with great lines.
So I'm gonna jump off to a little story, but
I'm sure
what I've always said. So since you mentioned the earlier scene with Kelly Preston or whatever, and the awkwardness of that scene, and just so people know, when we watched this with Hallie, we skipped over that scene. She did not see that scene, but so I grew up in a household and my parents were very conservative with the movies we watched. So I did not watch many R-rated films, whatever. Right. So I can't remember. So 95. I mean, I was definitely a teenager for whatever reason, maybe the sports aspect, because it started getting the like best picture, recognition and all that kind of stuff. I remember this was one of the first R-rated movies I went with my parents to. And this scene, like, it's still like, I just remember, I mean, it's
sinking down into the
yes, yeah. So anyway, and I just remember thinking like, well, this is the last time this is happening, you know. So,
like my one chance blown.
Yeah. Well, another line probably that like people say that they probably would never guess that people would quote so much.
Jerry, do you know the human head weighs 8 pounds?
Oh yeah, and like then my dad died and my mom took me to the zoo. the effing zoo's closed right now.
Yeah, and I don't think
I gotta go to bed. I hear my mom.
Yeah.
I gotta go to bed. The reason Jerry married Dorothy was kind of because of Ray.
Yeah.
It was like he just loved that little kid so much and didn't want to let him down, you know.
Yeah.
That was like an interesting element to
more
adult theme of like, like I have this responsibility towards your kids, not necessarily like a loving, committed relationship with you, but like I can't separate the two. So it makes it a little like a complicated adult relationship.
It's easy for him as Jerry Maguire, the character. I mean, Ray's a buddy. like he can connect, when they're starting to have that serious conversation and he jumps in, it's easy for him. Oh yeah, come join us. Watch it, watch this with us. And oh yeah, we can go to the zoo. Like,
Yeah.
Ray is very much just a comfort zone for Jerry Maguire, because
Oh yeah.
he can be the parent, but not going to the, the deep
Well,
stuff.
you see it like in the scene where he pulls him to his lap, and you see Dorothy like, oh, okay, like this isn't really about me at all. This is about you and Ray.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
see. Like you see that, and you get that sinking feeling. Like, yeah, like it was never really about you as much as you had hoped it was.
Right.
One of just the greatest kid characters.
Yeah.
Just solid casting. So absolutely adorable. Like nailed it. Just nailed like whatever they were trying to do.
Yes.
It worked. It was like, it's one of my favorite kid characters of all time.
Yes.
I don't know that there's a better one than Ray.
I don't think so. You kind of touched on it of like, it's really hard to come up with a favorite scene, because I'm like you, like I feel like so many are so good, but do you have a couple that stand out to you?
That stresses me out because I love it. Like first, can I mention Bob Sugar too?
Oh
like,
yeah, of course.
The movie would be nothing without Bob Sugar in it. And like his scenes, the Bob Sugar character, I love. And every time I see the movie, like the more I see it, the more I'm like, that's a real winner. Just like, can you get past yourself for a second? Jeez, like the firing scene, the energy. And I don't think this is my favorite scene, but the energy in the panic calls when he gets fired and they're all rushing around and like calling all the sports kids and like that scene. And it eventually, ends with Cuba Gooding, but like that whole scene is just so good.
It's fantastic. Just in the editing style, I think also how they use the office phone, and you just slowly
you feel it. Like, and if anybody has ever had like a regular telephone, I don't know how old your listeners are, but like that feeling of like, I'm going to lose them on the line. Like someone's on the other line. I'm going to lose it. Oh, there it is. Like you're just engulfed in emotion and like panic in that moment and that scene. That's such a good scene. And like Bob Sugar just being like crunching on a sandwich.
Yeah. And he's the stand-in for what Jerry Maguire is before we have gotten to know him. I mean, Jerry Maguire was just that, that ruthless. Jay Moore's cast perfectly in the role. And so did you see the movie Air? Did you happen to see that?
I did.
Did you recognize Jay Moore in that movie?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I love Jay Moore. I've seen him do stand-up before.
Oh, okay.
It was a very weird performance.
Yeah. He's a weird guy.
It was a weird performance stand-up wise, but like just no better role for him than that. Like just I love the Bob Sugar character.
Yeah, even though he's very, very small role in Air, it's funny to see him as like an agent. I mean, not that those two movies are exactly,
but it's like, you get it. You get Jay Moore as an agent, like just kind of slimy, kind of snarky, just like whatever, dude. My favorite scene. God, Nathan, this is so hard. I really love the whole scene of Jerry trying to get, I just lost the name of the character. The football player.
Oh, Koosh.
When he goes and it's like the whole, like we got him. And then it's like the cloaked in failure. And he and Cuba Gooding are in the plane.
Yes.
And he's like, well, we won on this. And he's like, just so sad and like downtrodden. And Cuba Gooding's like, come on. And like trying to get him hyped up. Like, I don't care. That's one of my favorite scenes just because I think it's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Because Jerry's like literally like melting into oblivion. And Rod Tittle's like, and you're going to get me the deals. We're one on this. I'm all you got, I love that one. And I also love the bathroom scene with Rod where it's help me help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am hanging on by a very thin thread. Or you are hanging on by a very thin thread. I love that scene too.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but just the whole the last football game and their moment, his moment in the end zone. I mean, it's so corny, but it just works. But even more so when he steps out to all the press, and they hound him. And I love the Rod Tidwell character because it's the thing that he's been wanting forever.
Yeah.
But what's the first thing he does? He wants to talk to his wife and kids. Yeah. And it's funny. It's this thing he's striving for, but it all goes back to the moments, that's what makes life. It's not the things that happen to you. It's the people you can share it with.
Yes.
And that whole scene and the way him and Jerry connect, I'm not afraid to say I tear up during that scene.
Oh, if you don't, something's wrong with you if you don't watch that scene and get emotional.
Yeah. And then of course, the end living, we'll talk about it a little bit more.
The divorced women's group.
But juxtaposition of when Maguire comes in that night drunk and everything that happens there. And then, but also the end scene where he interrupts this meeting and all the famous lines that come through it. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. It's such a great scene.
It is.
I love you. You complete me. And I just had...
Shut up. Just shut up. You had me at hello.
And just the way it's written, that it's the funny, it's a divorced women's group and they're like, oh man, and Dorothy's like, well, I still love the enemy, and
yes,
and he busts in. It's just such a random but magical Cameron Crowe kind of scene. Just what is happening? It's a divorced women's group.
Yeah. And I like the fact that it gives an audience to this to this display of emotions and feelings.
Yes.
So
it's so good. I know. I want to be the last scene, but God, there's just so many leading up to it. It's hard for me.
It's almost as if Cameron Crowe is okay, if you're cynical about this, I'm setting this scene in a room full of the most cynical people that you can think of.
Exactly. Exactly. There's nothing more cynical than this. And here, and Dorothy's been burned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She's been burned, and has every reason to sit in the chair with him and be cynical with him. But she's not. She's no, still holding out hope for this.
Movie musings.
What's your favorite sport or team?
Oh, my favorite sport is basketball.
Great, yeah.
And I love NCAA basketball. If it's college basketball, I'm totally in.
Yeah. We I know you probably, I'm surprised you wanted to do this with me, knowing that I work at OU, but our girls have, love OU basketball, and we don't go to every game, but both men and women's game, they're just all about it. Even the stadium here is Lloyd Noble Center, and Hallie, she tells me on the regular, it's her favorite place.
Yeah, that's my kids. They're the Farrell Center. They just roam around it's totally fine and safe, and there aren't thousands and thousands of people in it. They just gone so many times,
Yeah.
But college basketball is my heart.
Yeah.
I love college basketball.
Yeah. The second question for you is, this movie touches a lot about it as far as just loneliness, and Jerry Maguire is a character who I like how they always paint him anytime he gets alone with his thoughts or feelings, he runs off to find somebody. So are you someone that can be alone?
Probably not, honestly. I resonate a lot with Jerry. It's the vulnerability piece. That's hard for me. It's hard for me, and I'm extroverted.
Yeah.
I'm probably a little better at it than Jerry, but I don't like to be alone. No, I don't like to be alone. I don't like it. You like it?
Yes and no. I don't mind I feel like I fall in between introvert, extrovert. I really like social settings, but if there's moments where I am by myself, like running errands, that sort of thing, like I can totally be with myself and my thoughts. But at the time of this recording, all my girls are gone. Whitney and Hallie on her trip. Hayden's at overnight camp. This week's been weird. It's been strange, but
You're like, wait, and maybe it's not the alone part, but the like not sitting with hard feelings and like moving on to the next thing. Like, okay, well, that's not working. Then I'm going to do this. Like, that is so me.
yeah.
That's
I very much, even in my times of when I am by myself, I probably don't sit in my thoughts. I'm finding something to do. I'm watching something, those sort of things.
To a podcast, I'm like filling my mind with information, but I'm not good at like, oh, something sad or hard just happened. Let me like feel it.
Yeah.
Not like that. So I get where Jerry's coming from.
Yeah. We're just opening up here on this podcast.
We are being multiple.
Well, not being as serious, I actually hadn't touched on it yet, but one of my favorite scenes, and probably a lot of people do now when they're in the car, is just the moment where Jerry's on this high and he hops on his car and he wants to find the perfect song to sing in the car. So what's your favorite song to like just pump up in the car?
Oh my God. Yes. And I do still do that. Like my kids make fun of me because I'm not like a Spotify playlist all the time. Like I'll just get in and do my random Apple playlist and hit shuffle.
Yeah.
That's probably indicative of my age. But and I do that. I'll like hit like, what mood am I in this morning? Hit no, you go through like 40 songs. But anytime I need to like just unleash the fury, it's Beastie Boys.
Oh, nice. Yeah, for sure.
Anything Beastie. If the Beastie Boy gets on the shuffle, boom. Like I'm listening. Doesn't matter. Paul Revere, whatever.
Yeah.
Also indicative of my age.
Yeah. But also I'll say all these damn animated movies, the Beastie Boys is becoming like the needle drop, and these like we saw the Super Mario Brothers Beastie Boys songs in there, and there was another one too, and I was like, we're desensitizing our kids to the power of the Beastie Boys here. So
I teach my kids like Beastie Boys is held with like the utmost respect and reverence that it deserves, and my son loves it. Like he's like, oh yeah, mom's in her Beastie Boys. I get it. But yeah, you're like, don't toy around with.
Yeah. Did you watch that doc on the Beastie Boys? Yeah, that's awesome. It was really good. So
good. And one of my saddest things is that I didn't get to see them.
Yeah.
In concert.
Yeah.
List that'll never happen.
Rom-com rankings.
First category is the romantic chemistry between the leads. So you kind of hit it on a little bit. I'm feeling like you're not quite at a 5 with this one.
I'm not. No, that's what's. So for me and Tom Cruise, I have this thing where I am just not buying most of his romantic endeavors in movies.
Yes.
I don't know what it is. It's like he's asexual, but not.
Yeah.
It's very hard to like pinpoint the way I feel, but it's not like I'm mad at him or like I don't go along with the movie. Does that make sense? It's like it'll work, but I'm not like fully like that's the magic.
Yeah. So
does that make sense? So I would say honestly, there's a hot take. I'm like maybe a 2, which is so weird because it's a rom-com, right? Like it's so bizarre. But like, give me Rod and his wife, and even Rod and Jerry have more chemistry to me.
Yeah.
It's just the weird Tom Cruise thing for me.
Yeah. I really struggled with this because it's stupid that I struggled with this so much because I do think it's there. I talked a little bit about the, I think it's this mission statement. I think there's a lot unsaid that we you don't see as far as like this vulnerability type of thing. I see the connection there. I almost like what I kept going back to is the final scene where they're in the park just walking together, and like seeing that snapshot, like I see it there, and
that doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Like when I see that, I'm like, they get divorced 2 years down the road.
Yeah.
No. But I will say the romantic scene where they cue Secret Garden and they have the like funny, like it pops the strap off at the like I believe that. I believe that scene. I believe like the sexual chemistry that they have there.
Yeah.
I didn't feel, again, and maybe this is by design, that it is like a convenient relationship, but like, is that bad? Is it bad to have like a relationship of convenience when you're a widow and you're a guy who's like on the move all the time and kind of have to prioritize work over family a lot? And is it bad to have a relationship of convenience that works on some level? Yeah. I don't know, but like, it's weird, but I'm giving you a tip.
Yeah. No, I think it's very fair. I ended up giving it a 4 because some of the things like you mentioned, as far as just their date and the events that transpire after that. I mean, that chemistry, that connection is there. But you can't discount that most of this movie, we're seeing how they aren't connected. And so that's what was kind of holding me back. That end scene, it brought me back a little bit. I gave it 4 hearts just because there's something there that keeps you invested in this. But I totally hear you. I don't fault you for your opinion.
To me, it's Tom Cruise. It's like that's the Tom Cruise, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, every movie he's in with a romantic lead, I'm like, I just don't buy it. But
yeah. So the second category, probably a little bit easier for us on this one, but the best friend aspect. What do you rank this category?
Oh yeah, like 5 all the way.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how great Rod Tidwell is, the character in this movie, but I also want to hit on Bonnie Hunt's character as Dorothy's sister, Laurel. I think she's amazing as well, and kind of
amazing.
Yeah, and standing in as basically the surrogate for the audience of like, especially like outside when they're that moving truck, and she's like, no, get in the car.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. And so, I think both of them are terrific in this, and I don't think we need to go too much more into that.
All the extra relationship centers.
Yeah, but even the way Rod just holds Jerry accountable, like, you didn't have to talk, did you?
In the booty, like it's just like, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. So what about the soundtrack for this movie?
I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, I do too. I'm cutting you off a little bit, but I gave it 5 hearts. This is a soundtrack I actually own, but I mean, you have songs by The Who, Bruce Springsteen, Paul McCartney. I also think that the score was written by Cameron Crowe's then wife, Nancy Wilson, who's done music for some of his other movies, like
amazing,
from Almost Famous. If people didn't know, she was in the band Heart, but it just like, just the fact that it's not like a orchestra score in this movie, but just this acoustic guitar. I just feel like the soundtrack. I mean, Cameron Crowe's known for his soundtracks and using music to, support his story. But I think once again, he does it perfectly here.
He carries every big scene over with like a choice song, like so well.
Yeah. So what do you rank it? I can see
5. 5.
Okay.
I can see Cameron Crowe. I'm like, it's a 5.
Yeah, I can see how maybe I'm sure if I put the soundtrack on for Hallie, she'd be like, what is this music? But I mean, even the way it ends with the Bob Dylan song, I mean, it just perfectly ends the movie as well.
Incredible soundtrack.
4th category, chase scene, Declaration of Love. What do you give this?
Declaration of Love. I mean, it's great.
I mean, when people say like they think of chase scenes and rom-coms, and they always reference the airport. I mean, we have just the quintessential scene of Tom Cruise, one, just running, because there's been lots of funny memes about how he runs in his movies.
Hilarious.
It always has these scenes. But I mean, we literally have Tom Cruise running in the airport.
Yes.
And then all the memorable lines we've talked about, like in this scene where he comes back and just, I'm looking for my wife, just amazing. I gave it 5 hearts. Do you still hold it up that high?
That's what's so weird.
I know.
I think I have to give it 5, but like, again, the chemistry, I don't know, but like, it's a great declaration.
I think we're on the same page with this one as far as the rewatchability. What do you give it?
Oh, the most rewatchable.
Yes. Yes.
The most.
Yeah. I give it 10 out of 5 hearts. So anyway,
10.
It had been a while since I've seen this movie, and I was just happy to find that, like, I probably even love it even more now watching it again, just kind of hitting on some things I probably didn't catch on with younger eyes. I think it's a terrific film.
I mean, I think this is my most rewatchable film.
Yeah.
That I can think of. It is the movie I will watch, hands down. Any scene, I'm sitting down, I'm watching it at least for 30 or 40 minutes.
Right.
Whatever I have time for, wherever I have time to give it. If I see it, I'm watching. Yes.
Anything else you want to add to it? I've probably taken up too much of your time.
Oh no, this is so fun to me. I don't know, just one of the more brilliantly written movies. To me, they don't make movies like this anymore. Or that I've seen. I don't know. Like, do you feel like there's just not a lot of like Jerry Maguire things of our time?
Well, part of that I think is streamers. So I think a lot of these rom-coms, relationship type of movies just go straight to streaming. So it's harder for them to find, larger audiences, and so I think that's part of it. But yeah, I've always loved these comedy dramas.
Recommendations.
Is there anything you're recommending to people these days?
Well, so we just finished Succession. Did you watch Succession?
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay. Well, I won't give anything away, but I love that show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible.
Like, I was not, and I'm still not emotionally prepared that it's over. I mean, I think one of the beautiful things about like TV, I mean, you didn't ask me this, but just like right now, it's like TV to me is kind of the new movie.
Yeah.
TV and like miniseries.
Yes.
That are on, I felt so emotionally tied to Succession.
Yeah. Hopefully you didn't relate too much to the characters.
Not relating to the characters, but just again, if your listeners haven't watched it, you should. Just like the whole way through, it just stayed true to what it was. I feel like
yes.
The first episode to the end. I've already, before it was over, I started rewatching it. That's how much I love it. And you should do that if you're really into it, because it's just a masterpiece to me. So Succession, one of the better shows written of the past, I don't know, 5 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an incredible show. And I got Whitney on board to watching them, and that's why I haven't finished it yet. So we're finally we've synced up, but we only have 3 episodes to go. So even though I kind of know like where it's going, although it'd been fun for this to keep going, I think this 4-season arc is like a perfect amount of seasons to tell this story. I think if it would have gone too much longer, it would have been pretty overkill with such unlikable characters.
It's just the same old thing. Like, it's the same old arguments.
Yeah.
Reconciled, it's not. So that back and forth swing of like these kids who actually don't know what they're doing, but have all the money in the world and the power lies. Yeah. I mean, just a brilliantly written show. So we just finished watching that. I watched Love and Death.
Yeah, what'd you think about that one?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really entertaining, Did you watch it?
We haven't watched it yet. It's on our list. Our in-laws, my in-laws, watch a lot of things, and they watched it and recommended it. So yeah, we need to check it
like
out.
if you're into murder mystery and like Brent, my husband, is like one of those people like can binge on like the Dateline, whatever it's CNBC, the Dateline reruns. I'm like, we all know the plot. We all know what's going to happen. Like, it's not a shocker, but for some reason it's so like intriguing. But it's a great story, and they make it very compelling. And just the shift in writing of like, it kind of starts like light comedy, and then it goes dark, like the last like few episodes, like really dark, because it's a really dark story, but it's a really good show.
Okay. Yeah. Especially now with your recommendation, we definitely need to check that out. For mine, I don't know if you have Apple TV Plus, but we have been watching the new show Platonic with Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen. We're only 2 episodes in, but it's just kind of, it's my type of humor. And so basically these characters they've been lifelong friends. They've been kind of separated because of marriage and life, and they kind of reconnect. And so Byrne and Rogan were together in Neighbors. And so Nicholas Stoller, who I think he directed that movie, but he did Forgetting Sarah Marshall, that sort of thing. Yep. It's that type of humor.
I like that.
I love Rose Byrne. Like, I think she's an amazing actress, hilarious, kind of almost like, she's been in so many comedies, but
she has, but she's kind of like unassuming.
Yes.
Like, like the comedic actor.
Yeah. I can see if you're not a Seth Rogen fan.
I love Seth Rogen. I'm a fan.
Yeah. If his laugh annoys you, you probably won't like the show. But so far we're enjoying it. It's become a really good show. Just like, okay, I definitely just need to laugh. Just put this on. So
okay, anyway, is it like 30-minute episodes?
Yeah, 30 minute. Okay. Yeah. So, well, next week we're meeting up at the top of the Empire State Building to discuss number 7 on the best rom-coms list, Sleepless in Seattle. Surely you've seen that one, right, Nikki?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, many times.
It's actually been a long time since I've seen it, so I'm excited about watching it again.
Yeah.
But
love that one.
As always, check out moviesarealife.com for episode reviews and more. If you love this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. This really helps us with finding new listeners. And thanks again, Nikki, for coming on. It's great to see you. Great to catch up with you. One, to talk about this movie, but just to hear about how your life's going and everything. And I want to encourage people to check out all the great things that she's doing.
I had so much fun, Nathan. This was just a blast. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. You have to make sure to tell Brent that I said hi. But
he's like so excited that I was doing this because we're like obsessed with movies. So
yeah, well, knowing he watches all this stuff with if we come across a good true crime,
junkie, anything he's in, I'm like, it's the same thing all the time. But yeah.
Well, thanks again to everybody for listening, and remember,
I don't have all the answers in life. To be honest, I've failed as much as I've succeeded, but I love my wife. I love my life, and I wish you my kind of success.